There comes a time in every person's life when they must face the uncomfortable truth the version of themselves they've been living as is not enough to carry them into the future they want. This isn't about hating who you are today. It's about recognizing that the habits, beliefs, and patterns that got you here will not get you there. Think about it like a house. You may have lived in it for years, but over time, the walls crack, the foundation weakens, and the wiring no longer supports the life you want to build. You can patch the walls, you can paint over the cracks. But sooner or later, you realize this house is not worth renovating. It's time to tear it down and start again. Destroying the old you is not about burning every part of your identity. It's about dismantling the parts that no longer serve you. Fear, procrastination, self-doubt, negative self-talk, and making space for a stronger, wiser, and more disciplined version to emerge. The reason most people never do this is because it's uncomfortable. It means letting go of familiar routines, leaving behind certain friendships, and even saying goodbye to the comfort of excuses. You have to be willing to stand alone in the debris of your old self before you can lay the first brick of the new you. And this rebuilding process is not done with a crowd cheering for you. It's done in silence. Alone, no one is going to hand you the blueprint. You have to draw it yourself. No one is going to carry your bricks. You have to lift them yourself. And no one is going to hold your hand when it gets heavy. You have to keep building anyway. Rebuilding yourself means asking, what kind of person do I want to be? What habits must I develop to become that person? What sacrifices am I willing to make to get there? This process will test your patience, your discipline, and your belief in yourself. You will be tempted to rebuild quickly, but the strongest structures take time. Every habit you form, every skill you develop, every lesson you learn, these are the bricks of your new foundation. At some point, you'll look around and realize something powerful. The old you is gone. The new you doesn't just exist. You built them from the ground up alone. And that's a kind of strength no one can take away from you. The real challenge is not in destroying the old you. It's in having the courage to live as the new you every single day. That's where your transformation will truly be tested. 5 keynotes of the speech: old habits and beliefs cannot create a new future. You must dismantle them. Transformation requires letting go of comfort, familiar patterns, and sometimes relationships. Rebuilding yourself is a solitary process. Discipline and self-reliance are essential. The new you is created brick by brick through consistent habits, skills, and mindset shifts. True change is sustained not by the moment of transformation, but by living it every day. Old habits and beliefs cannot create a new future. You must dismantle them. This is one of the hardest truths to accept because it forces you to confront the fact that the way you've been living, thinking, and acting may be the very reason you feel stuck. Most people hope they can keep their current lifestyle, mindset, and patterns while simply adding a few better choices on top. But real change doesn't work that way. If the structure you're building your life on is unstable, anything you place on top of it will eventually collapse. You can't build a skyscraper on the foundation of a small house. The old framework has to go, and that starts with dismantling what no longer serves you. Think about habits. They are the invisible architects of your life. What you repeatedly do, you eventually become. If your daily routine is filled with habits that drain your energy, weaken your focus, or undermine your discipline, it's not just holding you back, it's actively shaping a future you don't want. Waking up late every day, eating without thought, scrolling endlessly on your phone, avoiding hard conversations, making excuses. These are not just small actions, they are small votes you cast every day for the type of person you will become. And the person those habits are creating is not the person you say you want to be. That is why they must be dismantled one by one, even when it feels uncomfortable. Beliefs are even more powerful because they form the blueprint for your behavior. If you believe you're not smart enough, not talented enough, or not deserving of success, your mind will look for proof to confirm those beliefs, and you will behave accordingly. The problem is that many of these beliefs aren't even yours to begin with. They were planted by parents, teachers, friends, or experiences that left a mark on you. Maybe someone told you at a young age that you're not leadership material, and you believed it without questioning it. Maybe you failed once and decided failure means you're not capable. These beliefs feel like facts, but they are nothing more than mental habits, patterns of thought that must be broken if you want to build something better. Dismantling old habits and beliefs is not a comfortable process because it requires self-awareness and honesty. You have to be willing to sit down with yourself and ask, what am I doing every day that's keeping me stuck? And what do I believe about myself or the world that's preventing me from moving forward? This self-audit isn't about guilt or shame, it's about clarity. You can't fix what you won't face, and you can't face what you won't admit. It's tempting to defend your habits and beliefs because they've been part of you for so long. They've kept you safe. They've made life predictable. But safety and predictability are not the same as growth, and if you keep protecting the old, you will never make space for the new. The dismantling process often starts small. You don't have to destroy everything overnight. In fact, if you try to change everything at once, you'll likely burn out. Instead, choose one habit that's clearly holding you back and replace it with something that moves you forward. If you always start your day by checking your phone, Replace that with reading a chapter of a book or writing down your priorities for the day. Over time, these small replacements compound into major shifts. The same goes for beliefs. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, stop and challenge it. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that proves I absolutely cannot? You will often find there is none, just fear disguised as truth. Replacing a limiting belief with an empowering one takes repetition, but over time, your brain will adapt to the new story you're telling it. It's important to remember that dismantling the old you is not just about removing bad habits. It's about making space for better ones. If you remove a destructive habit and don't replace it with something constructive, the void will eventually be filled with the same or another destructive habit. Humans are creatures of habit. We always return to what feels familiar. That is why you must actively decide what the new familiar will be. There's also a layer of emotional resistance that comes with this process. When you start letting go of old habits and beliefs, part of you will feel like you're losing your identity. You've been living with these patterns for years, maybe decades. They feel like they're part of you, and in a way they are. But just because they are part of your history doesn't mean they have to be part of your future. The old you might have been shaped by survival, by fear, or by a lack of knowledge. The new you will be shaped by choice, by courage, and by a clear vision of where you want to go. The truth is your future is being built right now, whether you realize it or not. Every choice you make today is a brick in the structure of your life. If you keep using the same bricks you've always used, old habits, old beliefs, old fears, you'll get the same structure you've always had. If you want something different, you have to start building with different materials. That's why dismantling is essential. It's not destruction for the sake of destruction. It's demolition with purpose. It's the necessary clearing of space so that the new you has room to stand tall. Transformation requires letting go of comfort, familiar patterns, and sometimes relationships. This is one of the most emotionally challenging aspects of rebuilding yourself because comfort feels safe and familiarity feels like home. We are wired to seek stability, to find places and people where we can relax without fear of the unknown. But the very comfort that makes you feel secure can also be the thing that keeps you trapped. Growth is, by nature, uncomfortable. It forces you into situations where you are uncertain, unprepared, and even a little scared. If you stay where everything is familiar, you deny yourself the experiences that could stretch you into a stronger, wiser, and more capable version of yourself. Comfort is seductive because it doesn't challenge you. It whispers that you're fine where you are, that you can always start tomorrow, that change isn't really necessary. But transformation demands that you step beyond that illusion. It's not about rejecting comfort entirely. It's about recognizing when comfort has turned into a cage. A life built on constant comfort has no urgency, no hunger, and no reason to evolve. When you willingly step into discomfort, you invite challenges that force you to grow. You take on tasks that test your patience, build your resilience, and demand that you think differently. And it is within that space, just outside the boundaries of what you know, that real transformation happens. Familiar patterns are just as dangerous as comfort because they can hide in plain sight. You wake up, follow the same routine, think the same thoughts, talk to the same people, and make the same choices. Over time, these patterns harden into a script you live by without even realizing it. If those patterns are productive, they can serve you well. But if they're keeping you in the same emotional, mental, or financial position year after year, they are silently holding you hostage. The human mind is designed to conserve energy, and sticking to familiar patterns is its favorite way to do that. But energy conservation often means growth suppression. Breaking those patterns takes intentional effort. You have to force yourself to think differently, to try things you've avoided, to seek new experiences even when they feel awkward or uncomfortable. And then there are relationships, the most sensitive part of transformation. The truth is, not everyone in your life will support the person you're trying to become. Some people are deeply invested in the version of you they already know because it's predictable. You fit neatly into the role they expect you to play. The moment you start changing, they may feel threatened, left behind, or even betrayed. They might try to pull you back into old habits, not out of malice, but because your change disrupts their comfort. Letting go of certain relationships doesn't always mean cutting people off completely. Sometimes it means creating distance, setting boundaries, or spending less time in environments that pull you away from your growth. This is not easy because humans are social beings. We crave connection and losing it feels painful. But you have to remember that the people you surround yourself with shape your mindset, your energy, and your sense of what's possible. If your environment is filled with negativity, complacency, or constant distraction, it will be nearly impossible to build a new version of yourself that thrives. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others is to grow apart. You can still appreciate who someone has been in your life without making them part of your future. Letting go in any of these areas, comfort, patterns, relationships, requires courage. It means stepping into spaces where you don't know what the outcome will be. It means taking risks that might not pay off immediately. It means choosing short-term discomfort for the sake of long-term growth. Most people avoid this because they are afraid of loss. But what they often don't see is that holding on to what's familiar comes with its own kind of loss. The loss of potential, the loss of time, the loss of becoming who you could be. When you decide to transform, you are essentially declaring that the life you have now is not the limit of what's possible. That declaration will require sacrifice. You may have to walk away from routines that once brought you joy but now keep you stagnant. You may have to limit time with people you care about because their mindset no longer aligns with where you're going. You may have to face days or weeks of uncertainty, feeling like you've left something behind but haven't yet found the new. This in-between stage is uncomfortable, but it's also the most crucial stage in your transformation. It's the bridge between who you were and who you are becoming. Transformation is never a comfortable process because it's not meant to be. Comfort is the reward you earn after growth, not the place you stay while trying to achieve it. You can't rebuild yourself while clinging to everything that feels easy and familiar. At some point, you have to loosen your grip, trust the unknown, and step forward without all the answers. That's where the real change begins, when you're willing to let go of the very things you once thought you couldn't live without. Rebuilding yourself is a solitary process. Discipline and self-reliance are essential. The moment you decide to tear down the old version of yourself and build something new, you quickly discover that the work is yours alone to do. No one can climb inside your mind and change your thoughts for you. No one can install discipline into your daily life. People can give advice, encouragement, and even tools, but the actual labor of transformation happens in your own hands, in your own decisions, and in your own quiet moments when no one is watching. This is why self-reliance is such a critical part of the process, because the person who must carry you through change is you. When you're alone in this journey, discipline becomes your closest ally. Without discipline, your commitment will crumble the first time you feel tired, bored, or discouraged. Discipline is about feeling motivated every day. It's about doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not. It's the ability to wake up and stick to your commitments even when there's no audience to applaud you. Many people rely on external pressure, deadlines, accountability partners, or the fear of letting someone else down to keep moving. While those can be helpful, they're temporary. If you want lasting change, you must develop an internal drive that doesn't depend on someone else checking in on you. Self-reliance doesn't mean rejecting help or refusing connection. It means understanding that your progress depends on your own actions. You may have mentors, friends, or family who support you, but they can't make your choices for you. They can't build your habits, fight your battles, or push you forward when you decide to stand still. This realization can feel both freeing and intimidating. It's freeing because it puts the power in your hands. You control your growth. It's intimidating because it also means you can't blame anyone else when you fall short. In the solitude of rebuilding, you face yourself without distractions. There is no one to impress, no one to perform for, only you and the truth about your effort. You become your own coach, critic, and cheerleader. You have to notice when you're slipping into old patterns and correct yourself. You have to encourage yourself on the days when progress feels slow. And you have to hold yourself accountable when no one else is watching. This is the kind of discipline that builds unshakable character because it comes from within. Solitude in this process also forces you to trust your own judgment. When you're constantly surrounded by people's opinions, it's easy to be swayed in different directions. But when you're alone, you have to decide what's best for you based on your own values and vision. This self-trust doesn't develop overnight. At first, you may doubt your ability to make the right choices. You might second-guess every decision. But over time, as you make choices and see the results, whether good or bad, you begin to understand that you can rely on yourself to figure things out. This kind of rebuilding is also a test of patience. When you're working on yourself alone, there are no instant results. You may go weeks or months before you see clear signs of change. In those moments, discipline keeps you steady and self-reliance keeps you focused. You learn to value the process rather than the immediate outcome. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your effort and instead find satisfaction in knowing you showed up for yourself today, even if the world doesn't notice. It's during this solitary rebuilding that you discover who you really are without the noise of external influence. You learn how you respond to setbacks when there's no one to encourage you. You find out whether you truly want change or only like the idea of it. You realize how much strength you can summon when quitting would be easier. These lessons can't be taught by someone else. They can only be learned through experience. And that experience is deeply personal. Discipline and self-reliance also build resilience. When you can depend on yourself to take consistent action, you become less fragile. You stop needing everything to go right in order to keep moving forward. You learn how to adapt when plans change, how to keep going when the path is unclear, and how to rebuild even after a setback. That resilience becomes the foundation of the new you, because you know no matter what happens, you have the ability to keep moving. The truth is, rebuilding yourself will sometimes feel lonely, but it's in that loneliness that you develop the strength to stand on your own. You stop waiting for the perfect circumstances, the perfect timing, or the perfect support system. And you start creating progress with what you have, where you are. Discipline gives you the structure to keep building. Self-reliance gives you the confidence to know you can handle whatever comes. Together, they make you unstoppable, not because life will suddenly become easy, but because you will have become the kind of person who can face anything and keep building anyway. The new you is created brick by brick through consistent habits, skills, and mindset shifts. Change doesn't happen in a single moment of inspiration. It's the product of countless small decisions that stack up over time. Many people imagine transformation as a dramatic overnight event, a sudden leap from who they are now to the person they want to become. But in reality, it's far less glamorous and far more methodical. It's about showing up day after day, doing the work even when it feels repetitive or unexciting, and trusting that the accumulation of those efforts will eventually create something extraordinary. Think of your life as a construction site. Every action you take, every thought you choose to entertain, every skill you develop, it's all a brick. The strength of your future depends on the quality of those bricks and the consistency with which you lay them. A single workout will not make you fit, just as a single act of kindness will not define your character. But repeated over time, those actions compound. They become part of who you are. They shape your identity. And once something becomes part of your identity, it's no longer something you have to force. It's something you naturally do. Habits are the first layer of construction. They're the daily actions that, when repeated, build the framework of the new you. If you want to be healthier, you create habits around exercise and nutrition. If you want to be more disciplined, you create habits around time management and focus. The key is consistency. A habit practiced sporadically is just an activity. A habit practiced daily becomes a lifestyle. The mistake most people make is trying to change everything at once, which often leads to burnout. The more effective approach is to start small, 1 or 2 habits at a time, and commit to them until they become automatic. Skills are the next layer. Habits shape your behavior, but skills expand your capability. They open doors, create opportunities, and allow you to operate at a higher level. Learning a new skill often requires stepping into discomfort because it demands practice, patience, and persistence. At first, you may feel clumsy, slow, or even inadequate. But the more you practice, the more confident you become. Over time, your skill set becomes part of your toolkit for building the life you want. Whether it's communication, problem solving, leadership, or technical expertise, every skill you master becomes another brick in your foundation. Mindset shifts are what hold the entire structure together. Without the right mindset, habits and skills won't last. Your mindset is the lens through which you interpret everything: success, failure, setbacks, and opportunities. If your mindset is rigid and negative, you'll see obstacles as reasons to stop. If your mindset is growth-oriented, you'll see obstacles as challenges to overcome. Shifting your mindset often means letting go of limiting beliefs and replacing them with empowering ones. It means choosing to see effort as a path to mastery instead of a burden. It means embracing failure as a teacher rather than a verdict. These mental adjustments don't happen overnight, but each time you reframe a negative thought or choose persistence over quitting, you strengthen the mental framework of the new you. What makes this process powerful is the compounding effect. A single day of action might not look like much, but over weeks, months, and years, those actions build a completely different reality. If you read 10 pages a day, it might feel insignificant, but in a year, that's over 500 pages, dozens of books that could reshape your thinking. If you practice a skill for 30 minutes a day, in a year, you'll have spent over 180 hours improving it. The new you isn't the result of luck or talent, it's the result of disciplined accumulation. This is why patience is such an important part of rebuilding yourself. There will be days when you feel like nothing is changing, when the effort doesn't seem to match the reward. But just like in construction, progress isn't always visible immediately. You may be laying the foundation for months before anyone can see the structure rising. The key is to keep going even when the results are invisible, because the real transformation is happening beneath the surface. Another truth about building brick by brick is that it requires attention to quality. If you cut corners, if you allow bad habits to slip in, if you build with weak materials, the structure won't last. This means holding yourself to a standard even when no one is watching. It means doing the hard work properly instead of rushing through it. Every choice is a brick. Ask yourself if it's one that will strengthen or weaken the new you. Eventually, there comes a moment when you look around and realize the walls of the new you are standing tall. You see the habits that are now part of your identity, the skills that once felt impossible but now feel natural, and the mindset that allows you to navigate challenges with confidence. But this isn't the end, it's just the next stage of building. Because as long as you're alive, you're still laying bricks, still refining, still improving. The new you is never truly finished. It's a structure you keep strengthening one day at a time. True change is sustained not by the moment of transformation, but by living it every day. Many people get inspired to change after a powerful event, a painful failure, or sudden realization. In that moment, they feel unstoppable, full of energy, hope, and conviction. But the spark that starts transformation is not the same as the fire that keeps it alive. The initial burst of motivation is fleeting. What truly matters is what happens after the excitement fades, after the rush is gone, and after life returns to its ordinary rhythm. That's when you find out whether your change was just an emotional reaction or a permanent shift in the way you live. Sustaining change requires commitment in the quiet, uneventful days when no one is watching and nothing extraordinary is happening. It's easy to take action when you're fired up and everything feels new. It's much harder to keep going when the work becomes routine, when progress feels slow, and when the temptation to slip back into old habits creeps in. This is where consistency becomes more important than intensity. Anyone can make a huge effort for a short period of time, But the people who experience lasting transformation are the ones who show up day after day, even when the effort feels small and unremarkable. Living your change daily also means integrating it into your identity. If your transformation remains something you do instead of something you are, it will always feel temporary. For example, if you start exercising but still see yourself as someone who hates fitness, your commitment will eventually fade. But if you shift your identity to see yourself as a healthy, active person, your actions will align naturally with that self-image. You're not forcing yourself to behave differently. You're simply living as the person you've decided to become. The same applies to any change. If you want to be more disciplined, you must stop seeing discipline as an occasional choice and start seeing it as part of who you are. Sustaining change also requires awareness of the subtle ways old habits can creep back in. You might think you've moved on from your old self, but comfort and familiarity have a way of quietly pulling you back. One skipped habit becomes two, one compromise becomes a pattern, and before you know it, you're back where you started. This is why you must stay vigilant, even when things are going well. Success can be dangerous because it tempts you to relax too much, to assume you're done growing. But true transformation doesn't have an endpoint. It's a lifelong practice. Another part of living your change daily is being willing to adapt. Life will not always cooperate with your plans. Circumstances will shift, obstacles will appear, and the exact strategies that worked before may stop working. The old version of you might have seen this as a reason to give up. The new you sees it as a reason to adjust. Sustained change is flexible. It bends without breaking. When your environment changes, you find a new way to keep your habits alive. When challenges arise, you modify your approach instead of abandoning your progress. There will be moments when sustaining change feels exhausting. You may feel like you've been working for months with little reward. In those moments, it's crucial to remember why you started. Your why is the anchor that holds you steady when motivation drifts away. Remind yourself of the pain you wanted to leave behind, the vision you wanted to create, and the person you committed to becoming. This reflection can reignite your determination when the journey feels long. It's also important to measure progress over time, not just in the immediate moment. Lasting transformation is rarely dramatic day to day, but when you look back over months or years, you'll see how far you've come. That's the reward of living your change every day, the quiet accumulation of improvement that eventually becomes undeniable. The small actions you take today may not seem significant, but they are the threads weaving the fabric of your new life. In the end, sustaining change is about proving to yourself day after day that you are serious about becoming the person you've envisioned. It's about holding the line when it would be easier to let it slip, about making choices that align with your new identity even when no one would notice if you didn't. The transformation itself is powerful, but it's the living of it through habits, discipline, and intentional action that makes it real. Without daily practice, change fades into a memory of who you could have been. With daily practice, it becomes who you are. The journey of destroying the old you and rebuilding yourself alone is not a single leap, but a series of deliberate steps taken with courage, discipline, and an unshakable commitment to growth. It begins with the honesty to face the habits and beliefs that no longer serve you, the strength to let go of comfort and familiarity, and the willingness to stand on your own as you lay the foundation for a new life. It continues with the steady work of building brick by brick, through consistent habits, expanding skills, and transforming your mindset, until the person you are living as today is no longer recognizable compared to the one you left behind. And it never truly ends, because true change is not something you achieve and then forget. It's something you choose to live every single day, especially in the quiet moments when no one is watching. The reward for all of this is not just the life you create, but the unshakable truth that you built it yourself. And that kind of strength cannot be taken away.